In this podcast episode, Amaryllis Fox, a former CIA officer, delves into a range of critical topics that highlight the complexities and moral dilemmas surrounding U.S. foreign policy, intelligence operations, and the implications for democracy and civil liberties. Fox begins by addressing the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, asserting that the Biden-Harris administration played a significant role in persuading Ukraine to abandon a peace deal that could have preserved a portion of its territory. She argues that this decision has led to a catastrophic loss of life and territory for Ukraine, with tens of thousands of innocent lives lost as a result. Fox contends that the U.S. has not genuinely stood with the people of Ukraine, but has instead used the conflict to further its own geopolitical interests, including access to Ukraine's vast mineral resources. The discussion highlights the moral implications of U.S. involvement in foreign conflicts, particularly the prioritization of profit over human lives. Fox emphasizes that the narrative of supporting Ukraine is often a facade, masking the reality that the U.S. has contributed to the suffering of the Ukrainian people. She critiques the war hawks and financial interests that benefit from prolonged conflict, suggesting that the true cost of war is borne by innocent civilians. Fox reflects on her time at the CIA, discussing the agency's historical patterns of behavior and the moral compromises that often accompany intelligence operations. She notes that the CIA has a long history of engaging in covert actions that prioritize political objectives over ethical considerations. This pattern, she argues, has led to a disconnection between the agency's actions and the values it purports to uphold. The conversation shifts to the broader implications of intelligence operations on domestic politics. Fox expresses concern that the same tactics used to manipulate foreign governments are now being applied within the United States. She warns that this erosion of democratic principles poses a significant threat to civil liberties and the integrity of the electoral process, as intelligence agencies increasingly operate without accountability. Fox discusses the long-term consequences of war, particularly the psychological and social toll it takes on affected populations. She emphasizes that the human cost of conflict extends far beyond the battlefield, affecting families, communities, and future generations. The trauma experienced by those living in war zones can lead to lasting psychological scars, which are often overlooked in discussions about military intervention. Moreover, Fox highlights the economic implications of prolonged warfare, noting that the resources allocated to military endeavors could be better spent on addressing domestic issues such as poverty, healthcare, and education. She argues that the prioritization of military spending over social welfare programs reflects a fundamental misalignment of values within the U.S. government, ultimately harming the very citizens it is meant to protect. The conversation turns to the issue of censorship and its implications for free speech. Fox argues that the current political climate has fostered an environment where dissenting voices are silenced, particularly those that challenge the prevailing narratives promoted by the government and mainstream media. She expresses concern that this trend undermines the foundational principles of democracy and erodes public trust in institutions. Fox draws parallels between censorship in the U.S. and the tactics employed by authoritarian regimes to suppress dissent. She warns that the normalization of censorship can lead to a chilling effect on free expression, stifling critical discourse, and preventing the public from making informed decisions. The implications of this trend are particularly concerning in the context of upcoming elections, where the ability to freely discuss and debate ideas is essential for a healthy democracy. Reflecting on the aftermath of the September 11 attacks, Fox discusses how the U.S. government's response has shaped contemporary foreign policy and intelligence operations. She argues that the post-9/11 era has been characterized by a suspension of critical opposition to war, with many Americans rallying around the flag in the name of national security. This collective mindset, she suggests, has allowed for the perpetuation of questionable military interventions and the erosion of civil liberties. Fox emphasizes the need for a critical reassessment of the decisions made in the wake of 9/11, particularly regarding the justification for war and the impact on global stability. She argues that the lessons learned from past conflicts should inform current policy decisions, urging a shift away from militaristic approaches toward more diplomatic solutions. The discussion touches on the assassination of President John F. Kennedy and the enduring questions surrounding government secrecy. Fox expresses her desire to uncover the truth about the events leading up to and following the assassination, particularly regarding the involvement of intelligence agencies. She argues that the continued classification of documents related to the assassination raises concerns about accountability and transparency in government. Fox posits that the lack of clarity surrounding the JFK assassination reflects a broader pattern of obfuscation by intelligence agencies, which often prioritize secrecy over the public's right to know. She emphasizes the importance of historical accountability, arguing that understanding the past is essential for preventing similar abuses of power in the future. Fox introduces the topic of electromagnetic pulse, or EMP in short, attacks and their potential consequences for national security. She explains that EMPs can be caused by solar storms or nuclear detonations, leading to widespread disruptions in electrical infrastructure. Fox argues that the U.S. is ill-prepared for such an event, despite the clear risks posed by adversaries who may seek to exploit this vulnerability. The conversation highlights the need for proactive measures to protect critical infrastructure from EMP attacks. Fox criticizes the Biden administration for revoking initiatives aimed at hardening the electrical grid, arguing that this decision jeopardizes the safety and security of American citizens. She emphasizes that the consequences of an EMP attack could be catastrophic, affecting everything from communication systems to food supply chains. Fox discusses the interconnectedness of domestic and foreign policy, arguing that decisions made abroad have direct implications for the lives of Americans at home. She emphasizes that the U.S. government's actions in foreign conflicts often lead to unintended consequences, including increased instability and violence that can spill over into domestic issues. The conversation underscores the importance of a holistic approach to policymaking that considers the broader implications of military interventions. Fox advocates for a shift in focus from military solutions to diplomatic efforts that prioritize peace and stability, both domestically and internationally. Fox addresses the role of big tech companies in shaping public discourse and controlling information. She argues that these companies have become powerful gatekeepers, determining which voices are heard and which narratives are promoted. This concentration of power raises concerns about the potential for manipulation and censorship, particularly in the context of political campaigns. The discussion highlights the need for greater accountability and transparency in the tech industry. Fox calls for a reevaluation of the relationship between government and tech companies, emphasizing the importance of protecting free speech and ensuring that diverse perspectives are represented in public discourse. As the conversation draws to a close, Fox reflects on the future of democracy in the United States. She expresses concern that the current political climate, characterized by polarization and censorship, poses significant challenges to democratic principles. Fox argues that the erosion of civil liberties and the suppression of dissenting voices threaten the very foundation of democracy. Fox emphasizes the need for active engagement and advocacy to protect democratic values. She encourages individuals to speak out against injustice and to hold their leaders accountable, asserting that the future of democracy depends on the collective efforts of citizens to uphold the principles of freedom and equality.